I was racking my brain thinking up topics for my next video, and I was really struggling with coming up with something good, and then it occurred to me. You've been asking me for this video for months. Judging by the comments section, many of you wonder how to answer job interview questions, particularly behavioral interview questions when you have no previous work experience. Makes sense, right? It's hard to tell somebody about a time you dealt with a difficult coworker if you've never dealt with any coworkers before. Even a question as simple and harmless as walk me through your resume can be really difficult if you've got no previous work experience, and that can cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of nerves. Well, fear not, my inexperienced comrades. I am going to walk you through how to answer any interview question regardless of your level of experience. Stick around. Darren D here. Welcome back to another horrifyingly episode of the Ramblin' Recruiter. I've been a recruiter for nearly 20 years, and I help job seekers on YouTube find the job of their dreams. In almost 2 decades, I've learned a thing or two about hiring and getting hired, what works, what doesn't. I'm here to share what I know with you. If that sounds good, subscribe and click the bell so you enable notifications and never miss a new video. I haven't mentioned it in a while, so I'm going to mention it today. Please consider joining my free LinkedIn networking group. Link is below in the description. It's a great place to get news on the job market, interesting articles, share a laugh or two with fellow job seekers, and maybe even hear about a couple of good jobs. So you've got no previous work experience, this is your very first job, maybe it's your first job out of school, maybe you're interviewing for a part-time job while you're in school, whatever the case may be, you've got no previous work experience, and now you have to answer questions, particularly behavioral questions, which are difficult for anybody, even if you have a lot of experience to answer. And you're panicking because you don't know how to respond to things like walk me through your resume, or tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult coworker, or how would you do this, or how would you do that. I get it, this is nerve-wracking, this is difficult, but it's very doable. First, let's quickly understand what a behavioral interview question is and what the purpose behind them or the idea behind them are. Behavioral interview questions will sound something like this.
Can you tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult coworker?
These questions ask you to provide specific examples, very specific examples of events that happened in the past. So if you have no previous experience, this is more or less impossible to answer. The intent of these questions is to understand what your previous behaviors are. In other words, how you acted in a given situation in the past. The thought process there is that your past behavior and your past actions are actually the best predictor of your future behavior and future actions. What they are not are hypothetical questions. They're not asking you what you would do. They're not asking you what you think you would do. They're asking you what you have done. Hypothetical questions are a different type of interview question. We'll get to them at another time. But that small difference between what you have done versus what you would do makes all the difference in how you answer these questions. And if you answer a behavioral question with, well, I think I would, blah, 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 you failed. It's done, it's over, you're not going to get any credit for it at all. Behavioral interview questions need to be answered in the past tense using phrases like I did, I changed, I managed, I helped, I XYZ, but it should be specific about you. This is what I did. You don't want to use future tense words, you don't want to use hypotheticals like I would, or I think I would, or maybe I would. These are all no-nos. So if I said to you, tell me about a time you've dealt with a difficult coworker and you have no previous work experience, you might think, well, I can't answer this question, right? And if you're confronted with this question on an interview, it might be very tempting to say, sorry, I can't answer it. I don't have any previous work experience. Or if you're confronted with this question on a video interview, it might be very tempting just to skip ahead to the next question. Not a good idea. You could say, I don't have any previous work experience, so let's sit here and stare at each other until the time runs out and make it really uncomfortable. Or you could give an answer that actually gives you a shot. So riddle me this. Are you alive? If you're nodding your head up and down yes right now, then you have experiences. They may not be work experiences, they may not be 100% relevant to the question at hand, but they're experiences nonetheless, and you can use them in a job interview in a pinch. Take that difficult coworker question, for example. I can think of 1,000 times I've dealt with difficult people outside of work too. There are a number of different life situations that you can draw from to use as examples on these types of questions. Some of my favorites are athletics. Have you ever played on a sports team in school or just for fun? Have you ever struck out, missed the shot, missed the goal, had the ball go between your legs? Guess what? There's your examples on a project that you worked on that failed. School. Ever work on a group project in school? Ever work with a lab partner who didn't do their share of the report? Ever work with somebody that wasn't pulling their weight in school? Guess what? There's your example of a difficult coworker. Family. Have a brother or sister? You got difficult coworker stories for a country mile. Ever care for an elderly family member? Those are great examples. Have you ever convinced your mom or dad to let you go somewhere even though maybe initially they said no? There's your examples of persuasiveness. Great examples can be found in everyday life, and while they may not be 100% relevant to previous work experience, the companies that you're interviewing with are going to appreciate the fact that you're making the effort and that you're drawing the connections, as opposed to just saying, I don't have any previous work experience, I can't answer this question. So now that you've got some source material to draw from, let's talk about how you have to structure those examples to make them answers to a behavioral interview question. The correct format for answering a behavioral interview question is the STAR format. Situation, task, actions, results. The situation is exactly that. What was the situation? Briefly explain to me what was going on. Tasks. What were the tasks that you needed to accomplish? Maybe mom and dad told you to clean the house and you only had an hour to do it. Actions. Now this is the linchpin of a behavioral interview question. This is where you make your money, right? Tell me in very specific detail what actions you took, specifically you, not the group, not the team, not my brother and I, not my sister and I, what actions you took. I took out the trash, then I did the dishes, then I cleaned the toilet. This is where you really ring the register when it comes to a behavioral interview question. The more specific and detailed you are, and the more steps that you can explain as a part of that process, the better the answer is going to be. And finally, results. It is critically important that you bring the whole story together and wrap it up in a nice, neat bow with the results. The results of my actions were that the house was clean in time for the dinner party and my mom gave me $20. Whatever the case may be. Bringing it all together is like seeing the good guy win in a movie. Right? That's the coming together of all the different other elements of the answer to make it into a great story. The story without an ending is terrible, right? Cliffhangers just upset the heck out of me. So now you've got source material and you understand how to structure your answers. Now it's time to think. Think about what the best examples that you've got are. You've got to know these stories inside and out, and you've got to be really confident about them. And this is where I think so many candidates, particularly young, inexperienced candidates, go wrong, is they try to memorize every possible question that they might be asked. That's a mistake. A much better idea is to think and practice and rehearse your 3 to 5 best examples. Have them in your head so that you know them front side, back side, inside, outside, and that you could very confidently adapt the story to fit any question. The only way to do that is to keep practicing. Practice, 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 practice. Rehearse answers to yourself. Rehearse answers in the mirror. If you're getting ready for video interviews, set up your cell phone and record yourself telling these stories. Situation, task, action, results. Do it over and over and over again until you're blue in the face. Because you don't want to practice until you get it right. You want to practice. Do that and you're going to succeed where your peers who have no previous work experience are failing. Now, do this. Watch either of the 2 videos on screen right now. They're going to get you one step closer to that job of your dreams. Enjoy the rest of your job seeking day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace!